Okay, let's begin. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا أرحم الراحمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Hope if you can hear me. If you can't, just type into the chat section. I hope it's loud enough. I have managed to kind of sort out all the problems we've been having over the last couple of weeks in terms of recordings. So before we begin, inshallah, I'd like to ask everyone a simple question is, how are you feeling today? I would like you to write that in the chat section, please. So whatever you're feeling, whether it's angry, frustrated, motivated, demotivated, you're having problems, health issues, whatever you're feeling, just put into the chat section and be honest, inshallah. Okay, so here I want to try and work with your emotions today, and part of this session, it's about motivation. So what I would like to do is, inshallah, see how you're feeling today and see if we can make any changes in your state and how you're feeling today. So if you could, so we've got Alhamdulillah, okay, positive, good, Alhamdulillah, worked up at times, okay, yeah, okay. I know you, I mean, mashallah, all of us are very grateful. However, tell me how you're feeling. So if it's frustrated, angry, just don't have the passion, drive, don't understand your why, your purpose. So whatever you're feeling, just write down what you're feeling, inshallah. So I have a son who doesn't like to listen when have to do schoolwork. Extra fed up at times, okay, optimistic, we've got someone motivated, extremely exhausted, chronic fatigue from being diabetic really gets me down, struggle to get out of bed some days, let alone to shop every day to parent my young child who is home, okay. I think there's been a massive surge in parental frustration for home educating or homeschooling their children. So inshallah, I'll try and touch upon some of those issues today and how to overcome those as well. So anyone else? I'd like everyone to participate, please. So this is going to be a very interactive session, and I need everyone to get fully involved in this. So everyone from, not sure who is, Alia, Maharani, Monia, Nafisa, Nazma, Rohina, Shamim, Tasneem, Ilham, Musa, Yasmin, IB, I'm not sure that is, FB, Yusuf. Can you all, again, you know, those who just joined, just write down one word, how you're feeling today. And if you're feeling demotivated, why are you demotivated? If you're feeling motivated, excited, subhanallah, then inshallah, this is the place for you. The second thing I'd like to mention is that, again, at the end of these sessions, webinar, podcasts, I always give out free gifts. Now, hopefully those who have typed in their email address will receive those gifts. And that's part of what I give for attending the live sessions. So what I would like you to do is to receive those, receive for session 12, the free gift for session 12, if you can write in your email address in the chat section, inshallah. So just make sure it's private so no one else can kind of read your email address or copy and paste those. So write down, inshallah, your email address into the chat section. So somebody said positive and motivated, frustrated and overwhelming, coping with daughter teen and homeschooling other kids. Okay, mashallah, amazing. Okay, so yeah, put down your email address. Most of you have already signed up anyway, so I should have your email addresses. But This is for the live people who are attending the live sessions. And part of the live sessions, I'd like to give you something extra for attending these live webinars. So type in your email address, inshallah, and I will send you a free gift in terms of PDFs or videos or something similar to that. Okay, the next session the next point I'd like to make is I'd like to show a video, inshallah. And this is based on timekeeping from Imam Ghazali. And it's quite interesting. Let's escape this. And it's quite interesting how one of the biggest demotivating factors that we face is down to our time management. So inshallah, this video I'm going to be showing you right now. So I'll show you, just let me share the screen with you. It's going to, inshallah, make a difference because I've kind of worked on this same time management theory from the works of Imam Ghazali. And if you've listened to some of my previous webinars, podcasts, then you will see how in depth I've gone into the works of Imam Ghazali. And this video is really interesting. So inshallah, I'll play it and we can have a quick discussion on this as well, inshallah.
Your time is your life, and much like ice, it is constantly melting away. Do not let time go to waste. Know that time should not be without structure. You must order your day and night, organizing your routine of worship and assigning an activity to each period. This is a method for constant remembrance of God, a necessary ingredient in attaining spiritual happiness. Try to awake from sleep before dawn, a noble time, and let the first words in your heart and on your tongue be the remembrance of God. Purify your body and get dressed appropriately with the intention of obeying God. Pray in your home, then make your way to the mosque in tranquility and with remembrance of God. Pray with the congregation, which is 27 times better than a prayer alone. Do not fail to complete this profitable act, for if you are negligent, then what benefit is there for you in the pursuit of knowledge? After all, the fruit of knowledge is in acting upon it. Use your time until sunrise in 4 types of remembrance: supplication, glorification, recitation, and reflection. Reflect upon your mistakes and the nearness of your end, and carefully plan your day with the intention of obeying God. By the light of day, you should strive to occupy yourself with what benefits you in the hereafter. Use your time in one of 4 ways. The first is seeking useful knowledge. This is the best use of time and highest form of worship. Useful knowledge increases your God consciousness. If you are unable to acquire useful knowledge, use your time in extra prayers, or one of the 4 types of remembrance mentioned. The third use of time is to act in a way that will bring happiness to the hearts of believers, or make it easier for the righteous to accomplish good works, such as visiting the sick and feeding the poor. Finally, spending your time earning an honest living, to take care of yourself and your family, is also a form of worship. However, beware of worldly greed, for it will ruin your religion. When the sun turns red, try and spend your time glorifying God. The sun should set while you are seeking forgiveness. One must also set aside time for worldly necessities, family, and community. Before you sleep, review your knowledge. Do not end your day in entertainment, for actions are according to the last of them. Know that sleep is like death, and waking is like resurrection. Be ready to meet God by sleeping in a state of purity with your will.
Psychology works. And if there was a Muslim psychologist like no other, it's Imam Ghazali. I give you one selection, from the Bidayatul Hidayah. He starts off by speaking about organizing your day. the hours of your day. He says you should not have anything that is, you should make sure that every moment of yours is accounted for. And all your activities are murattab and organized according to your timetable, and you should never you should never overcome that time and do something else in that time. You should keep it as particular as possible. And then he says, وَبِهِ تَظْهَرُ بَرَكَةُ الْأَوْقَاتِ. That is how you get barakah in time. Many of us are struggling with barakah in time and blessing in time. Our days just fly by. Our days just pass and we don't get anything accomplished. So he tells us that if you have your day organized, where you do everything in its allotted time, and he says, this is what he then says, he says, don't be like animals who do things as they come, كَيْفَ مَتَّفَقْ. Right? As they come along, they do it. So this comes along, okay, let me take care of this. Oh, that looks green, let's go there. That looks nice and fancy, let's do that. Have a time for everything. And then after that, on in another discussion, he says that you should always strive to be doing good and never to be doing bad. Right? So you should always be a person of benefit and not a person of harm or inconvenience to others. And then he says in the midst of that discussion, he says that, look, if you can't help it, because there's going to be a lot of people, and you know, when you've dealt with a lot of people, they come and the excuse is, you know, I can't help it. I just can't help talking to him. I can't help talking to her. I can't help bothering him. I can't help lying. I can't help, cheating. So he says, look, if you can't help it, if that's what you say, so he's preempting your thoughts. That's why I call him a great psychologist. So he says that if you can't help it, then go to sleep. He says, why? Because sleep is a neutral state. Neither do you benefit and neither will you harm anybody. It's a neutral state. Now, again, look at where his mind is. There's going to be many people even now thinking, man, that's a good fatwa. Right? I'll go to sleep. So then he suddenly says, he says, but then sleep is the sister of death. And what good is there in life in which so much part of it is death? So then he jerks you back to reality. So essentially coming back with the argument that the only way is to be good and not to do anything bad, because even sleep is not a good idea. I just find him that he just talks to your heart, he just gets right to the bottom of things, he doesn't beat around the bush, he gives it straight.
Jazakallah for that. I just want to ask if anyone got any questions. If you want to unmute your mic and ask a question regarding that, then please just unmute your mic. Anyone got any questions? Don't be shy. Or you can just type into the chat section, inshallah. I'll try and read out your questions. Anyone got any questions on that? Okay, so like I said, I kind of discussed the works of Imam Ghazali in detail and how your spiritual connections should be to a whole new level. And I've talked about Imam, the 6 T's of Imam Ghazali. And it's really interesting that, in order to be completely immersed in the mercy and the beauty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the key ingredients is your spiritual connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first. Somebody mentioned, I feel during lockdown hard to plan with days that kids are home. I think it's because with children you don't have routines. And this is again what the works of Imam Ghazali is. You have to be truly connected and spiritually connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first before we start to change the dynamics of our environments and so forth. So what I'm going to do today, inshallah, is I'm going to go into detail of how to motivate yourself, how to change the dynamics of children, how to change if you're married or not married or looking for a partner, or you are, been married for years, how to change the environment. And people always ask me, Maulana, I've worked in many schools, which I'll explain in a bit. How do you manage to change the school so rapidly? The organization so quickly. So let's move on. So the topic of discussion is effective parenting. To the next slide. So topics of discussion is, we're going to talk more about what Academica Mentoring Radio Institute is. I'm going to be talking about what is motivation, Islamic motivation theory and model. Motivation Islamic quotes that will get you out of your soul-sucking slump. Motivation in the Quran and Hadith. 7 Hadith about sabr for motivation. Change management and theory. Supporting the community, how to fulfill this obligation. And I'll be discussing about Radon Institute RI and any other relevant issues. If you are not joined or following us, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Skype. I've released the first session on YouTube. Inshallah, I'll be releasing session number 2 onto YouTube as well. Please share it. Please comment on it. You know, if you like it, please like it. Send it to as many people as you can, inshallah. And think of that as your sadaqah jariyah. And anyone who benefits, they might change their life. You might transform them. So these are the ways of keeping in contact with what we're trying to achieve. The other thing is some of you have been struggling to receive the emails and so forth. And the reason for that is some of you have unsubscribed. So once you unsubscribe, you don't receive any more emails from us because of this GDPR compliancy. If you want to be put onto the broadcast list, send me a text on this number or send me a WhatsApp message on this number, 07724 974-831. Inshallah, I'll put you onto the broadcast list. So you'll get, you know, daily regular updates. Every time I have a session, I will send you a WhatsApp reminder as well that we're starting or the sessions are starting and so forth. So send me your email address, or you can email me as well. The email link is just go onto YouTube and type in Academica Mentoring and you will see all the previous videos. There's there's about 34, 35 videos I have uploaded on there, inshallah. The aim is to upload approximately about 100 videos this year so that you know, people can benefit, inshallah, and just send, share it with as many people as you can. The next slide is, let me tell you more about myself. So why am I doing this, and you know, what benefits it to me, and what's my experience? So I've been in the global education sector for about 20 years, alhamdulillah. I'm also an experienced executive leader, academic expert, director of education, senior education consultant, coach, mentor, teacher, trainer, and Cambridge examiner. I've been kind of managing schools as a head teacher principal for about 12 years. I've been working as a director of education for about 6 years. I'm currently an exec head, alhamdulillah. Last month, I completed my exec head qualifications. I'm saying there's only a few of us in the entire country. I think that there's only about 3 exec Muslim head teachers in the entire country. So alhamdulillah, I'm very privileged with the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have reached that level. I've also been the chair of Radon Institute for about 14 years. I worked in business, charity, international schools, consultancy. I worked in Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Qatar. I've worked in about 7 different schools as a head teacher principal, and about 30 different schools across the country, from Preston, Bolton, Blackburn, Burnley, Manchester, Nottingham, Leicester, and London, and so forth as well, alhamdulillah. So again, you know, my experience allows me to kind of give you this information. And over the last 2 years alone, we have, me and my colleagues have delivered nearly nearly kind of 2,000 plus, nearly 10 different courses to 2,000 plus students in 30 different countries. And alhamdulillah, the effects of those courses and the transformation of people on those courses has been absolutely phenomenal. So if you'd like to register on any of the courses, go onto the website, www.academicamentoring.com, and there's all the courses are there. Today, for those who stay behind, I've got an amazing course for you on marriage, inshallah. I'll be discussing that at the end of this, this webinar for those who are on the live session. So you'll get first privilege. No one's seen this course before. It's something I am in the process of developing. It's a beta test. The course is free with terms and conditions. So by the end of this webinar, inshallah, I'll be discussing that with you. It won't be in the recordings. I'll be editing all this information out. So this is for all the people who are on the live sessions only. We've set up a center of excellence, alhamdulillah, with the mercy of Allah, in Leicester. We do home education there. We got the madrasa, the tuition. We do workshops. We do mindset programs. We have events. Alhamdulillah, before the lockdown, we delivered nearly 70 plus projects, activities, and courses from October 2019 till March 2020. If you want to get involved in some of the things we do, again, go to the website, either Radiant Institute website, or you can go to the Academica mentoring website as well, inshallah. Okay, so now let's get to the main issue that we have. It is why? In other words, why are we as a group of people, as the Muslim nation, I come predominantly from the Asian subcontinent, even though I was born in this country, but my culture is more from an Indian Pakistani background. And I've seen within our communities there's so much negativity, there's so much hasad, there's so much bugs, there's so much adawat, there's so much enmity, there's so much, if someone's doing good, we have this mindset and mentality to bring that person down. And if they make one mistake, they are absolutely lambasted in terms of, well, he said this or she said this, and I don't want to go into the whole influencers and Instagram and YouTube and everything else. That's not I don't want to sit here and criticize those people. Only Allah knows why they've done what they've done. However, what I want to kind of focus on is a positive mindset, and what I want to kind of instill in our community, our locality, and everyone who comes onto the webinars and the masterclass is change your mindset, be positive. And you will see that just by changing your positive outlook, and it's all about understanding the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah is so merciful, and sometimes when mashallah, I became Hafiz nearly 30 years ago. And I studied, I also have got scholastic background, so I'm a qualified alim, Hafiz Qari as well. And when I listen to the verses of the Quran, every single time I listen to the verses and its meanings, sometimes it just brings tears to my eyes, because how amazing and powerful is the Quran and the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How powerful is the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Islam talks about every aspect of life. It's a complete manual. And we see people say, yeah, but it doesn't talk about this. And yeah, it does. Islam talks about everything. It's about having the wisdom and the connection to understand. And I mentioned in my previous webinars and podcasts that in order to truly understand the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we need to truly connect to what is our purpose in life, why we're here. And Allah mentions in the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah, Alif Lam Mim, Dhalik al-Kitab, this book, La Rayba Fi, there's no doubt. So first and foremost, you have to believe wholeheartedly, regardless of what your personal opinions and your cultural opinions or the society you live in or the environment you live in. You have to truly believe, La Rayba Fi, that there's no doubt in his book. And then this is the most crucial bit of that particular verse, which it says, Hudal lil muttaqin, that it's a guidance. So in order truly to be guided is for the muttaqin, for those people of taqwa. So if you are not attaining to that status of taqwa and you are not reaching that level of truly connecting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the guidance is doubtful. Because Allah says that, Hudal lil muttaqin. This book is a guidance for those with taqwa. So for that true spiritual kind of enhancement, rectification, we need to really connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I mentioned this in detail about, transforming oneself. And if you see that just by transforming your inner self, transforming your connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, attaining that higher purpose, and understand that this dunya is a dunya sijnul lil mu'min wa jannatul lil kafir. Okay, that this dunya is a jail for the believer and a paradise for the unbeliever. So in order to truly connect, we have to understand that where we're at, the situation we're in. But in order to not to feel, health issues, wealth issues, family issues, children issues, we have to understand that everything happens with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have to truly believe that. And so the more connected we are, the more purification, the more problems will be, inshallah, solved within yourself as well. And your problems will be solved. And I can almost, from my own personal experiences, I can almost testify to that. And believe you me, I've had many highs over the last 20 years and many lows as well. But it's truly through the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm meeting my sheikh as well. If you're not connected to a scholar or an alim or an appa or something similar to that, that's a prerequisite. You need, the scholars are the most important element to this for your purification, rectification. And I've also said that, look, if any one of you need help, send me a WhatsApp message. I'll try and call you back as soon as possible. The best time to contact me is after 5 o'clock on a daily basis. I can give you free advice, free guidance as well. And if you need further help in education with your children, in terms of bullying, school stuff, Ofsted stuff, and anything like that, inshallah, give me a call and I'll try and support you as much as I can. So let's get to the main point, which is motivation. Okay, so what is motivation? If you look at the literal definition of motivation, which means to provide with a motive or motives, incite, impel. Motivation, motive, need, the psychological feature that arouses an organism to action toward a desired goal. The reason for the action that which gives purpose and direction to behavior. We did not understand his motivation. He acted with the best of motives. Okay. Another definition is the condition of being motivated, his motivation was as a high level. So it's about changing states from where you are right now to where you want to be. Remember, there's a difference between state and goal. If you want to, for example, learn a surah in the Quran, now you're saying, I'm going to do this in 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 5 weeks. That's a goal, that's not a state. But the more motivated you are, the more passion and the drive and the commitment, the faster you will learn, the quicker you will learn, the way you will learn, and the passion and the drive that you will learn and the retention of that information will be extremely high, or astronomically high. Okay, so it's about changing states. And inshallah, today we're going to try and change states. And another definition is motivation, motivating, the act of motivating, providing incentive. In other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so merciful that He's providing us incentives all the time. So motivation in the Quran is absolutely amazing. It's astronomical. The amount of verses that are in the Quran regarding motivation is on a whole new level. And in fact, you can actually state that there's many Quranic verses and hadiths which talk about motivation. And inshallah, today I'll be going through most of those Quranic verses and hadith for you today as well, and some quotes from different scholars and so forth. So this is what we need to understand, that we need to change state. And sometimes, yes, we're down. Sometimes we're not feeling well. Sometimes we're tired. Sometimes we've got a headache. Sometimes, it's the time of the month. Sometimes it's, sometimes you hear bad news from passed away. Sometimes our children are misbehaving. But we've got to understand that why are children misbehaving? Okay, and what have we done to instigate that? Because remember, children are born on the fitrah, which means they already have the motivation. When you are born from day one, you already have that. You are born a Muslim, and Islam means to move forward, to strive forward. Okay, so you can't lack motivation. So you can't lack motivation and strive forward. The two are oxymorons. You can't have one or the other. You have to be truly motivated in order to aspire to become a better Muslim. And therefore, when you start becoming a better practicing person, you will also gain motivation at the same time. Okay. Now you might say, well, I pray 5 times a day. I do my fasting. I do my zakat. I do my hajj. Yes, that's fine. However, are you truly focused on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you're performing your salah? So when you're reading, when you're reciting the Quran, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. So we read this in every single salah. And what does it mean? So praise be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, subhanallah. Okay, so we know first and foremost we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then we say Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Allah is the all merciful. The mercy Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has is absolutely amazing. And we should never be despondent in the mercy of Allah. And I mentioned previously that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so merciful that He mentions in a hadith that if, and I'm talking about in relation to sin as well, because it's part of our human nature to sin. That doesn't mean you go and make you sin intentionally. Try to avoid it as much as you can. But even if you do sin, the hadith actually mentions that if mankind or human beings did not sin, Allah will destroy that nation and will raise another nation that sins, but does tawbah, connects to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, focus in and pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because Allah loves when He's a human being, when He's annas, when He's when people connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and people do ruju to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so remember, never be, because sometimes, you know, it depends on our mindsets, our motives, situations, environments where we live, demographics, all these play a huge part. And I mentioned to those who really want to kind of support their kids in terms of changing that mindset, you can purchase my book from Amazon, you know, how to pass exams in amazing results. So you can purchase that book, and if you haven't, I've sent an email out to everyone as well. If you still haven't received that email, send me an email back, and inshallah I will direct you to that Amazon book as well, inshallah. So it's really important that we understand that in order to motivate yourself, preconditions have to take place. So what are the definitions of motivation? So you get different definitions, and I'm going to be looking at the kind of you know, different you know, kind of people who have defined what motivation is. So motivation is derived from the Latin word mover, which means to move or to energize or to activate. So in order for you to be truly motivated, you have to move. You can't sit down and say, you know, I feel lack of motivation today. You know, I don't feel like doing this. I don't feel like cooking. I don't feel like cleaning. I don't feel like going out. I don't feel like going for a walk. I don't feel like studying. Okay, I don't want to, you know, I wish somebody could just take care of my kids for today. Okay, but if you are not moving always, you know, on the go, and you're not doing something to change your mindset and your body language, then you will start to demotivate. You'll start lacking motivation. Somebody's asking a question. My WhatsApp number is 07725974831. Somebody has raised their hand, so I'll allow that person to ask a question. If you want to unmute your mic, please, and ask the question, inshallah. Is it Maharani? I'm sure it was. Someone want to ask a question? No. Okay, let's move on. So if we truly be, you know, motivated, we have to understand that we have to keep moving. So another definition is motivation is the process of arousing the action, sustaining the activity in process, and regulating the pattern of activity. So what we're looking at here is consistency. And subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that in the Quran as well. He says, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. You know, guide us to the straight path. The straight path doesn't mean extremist on one side, like in Ramadan, we overdo it, and after Ramadan, we're exhausted, we're tired, and we can't maintain that. Okay, or some people are so, you know, I'll do it tomorrow. And I talked about procrastination last week. You know, I talked about you know, what you know, about people who decide that I'll do it just tomorrow or next week or when Ramadan comes or when I go to Hajj and so forth. That never comes. Like the saying goes, that tomorrow never comes, and it's important for us to understand that. Okay, so yeah, that's fine. You can text me later, inshallah. So again, it's about moving forward, keep on moving. But it's about changing the mindset and doing things positively. And I talked about this last week, that whenever you feel demotivated, think of something positive. So that action, which is demotivating for you, over time will change into a positive action. So I'll give you an example of children. So let's say you want your children to eat vegetables and fruits. Okay, there's no reason why they haven't got allergies or anything like that. So we're talking about generally without any issues. And it's a struggle for them to eat their vegetables. It's a struggle for them to eat their fruits and so forth. So how do you get children to start eating these things? Because you can't force it, say, eat it or else. What we do is we force the issue. So we say, if you don't eat it, then I won't give you an ice cream, or you can't eat your ice cream. Again, negative state. So what you're doing is you're changing one negative state to another negative. In fact, you're compiling the two negative states. Okay, so the one way of doing it is, if you do this, I will give you this. And that's something that they need. Okay, that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is to say to them, all right, eat 1 carrot. So for 7 days, they'll eat 1 piece of a carrot. And the mindset in terms of your conscious mind and your unconscious mind is, now you've given them an instruction and they think, well, it's only 1 little piece of carrot. That captain, which is the conscious mind, will give instructions to your unconscious mind, and whilst you're sleeping or processing the information, your brain will say, oh, it's only 1 piece of carrot. You know, what's the harm if I have more? And also sit with your children and explain the benefits of why they should be eating carrots or broccoli or, you know, cucumbers or lettuce or salads. Don't just say, eat this because it's good for you. Because children are generally or naturally very curious. And they have hundreds of questions going through the head throughout the day. And one research shows that an average child has 357 questions which need to be answered. Now, if you're sitting there and just saying, eat it or else, they don't understand that. It doesn't register. And I mentioned in my previous, again, podcast as well that, you know, I run schools and I've managed to transform the behavior of schools. And I'll give you one example in one of my schools. When I was a head teacher, head consultant of that school, I put all these policies, procedures, systems in place. So one of the things you have to do with children is have a set of rules. Okay, so that's important. If you don't know how to do that, then contact me and inshallah I'll go through that with you. So one of the things you have to do is set of rules. But you should have a set of rules for yourself as well. And the second thing you need to have is, especially with children, regardless of age, is have something which I call leverage, which means a set of extrinsic motivation or extrinsic, like you call prizes, gifts, etc., etc. So if they complete the set of rules, so they go and tidy their bedroom, then they're entitled to some leverage, which means they receive something. If they don't do it, they don't receive it. But the language you will use is that if you abide by all these rules, you get all these benefits. Okay, so that's, again, that balance has to be there. But even within yourself as well, if you do a good deed, okay, reward yourself. Because what the point here is, by performing the good deed and then rewarding yourself, you will realize that you will create the love, the peace, the harmony, the tranquility, and the true connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the action of, let's say, for example, performing a Fajr Salah and doing something to reward yourself will have a positive, amazing, mind-boggling experience. And you will feel as if like, wow, I feel like elevated today. This is why I always say, what we looked at the video of Imam Ghazali was that do everything in its allocated time. Yeah, try to pray your Fajr. If you pray the beginning of Fajr time, then pray the beginning of Fajr time continuously. If you pray towards the end, then pray towards the end. If you are, obviously during COVID, there's no masjids open, but in your house, if you're praying together, then pray together a particular time. And that will massively make a huge difference. And whoever's the kind of leader in the house, don't necessarily has to be the father, sit down after Salah with your children and talk about something good, talk about something funny, talk about something which is amazing that you're going to do. What you will do with your children during that Salah is every Salah that you perform, you will be energized, you will be motivated, you will activate your unconscious mind to think, Salah is an amazing thing. your unconscious mind will say, wow, that was powerful. And the more good deeds you do, the more you connected to your salah or connected to a good deed, the more powerful you will feel, the more motivated you will feel. So again, it's really important in motivation that you connect the action, the performing action, which is salah, or you giving sadaqah, zakat, something similar to that, with the follow-up. So mashallah, some of you, well, most of you have donated to our charity. And mashallah, I want to mention especially Sister Serene, Sister Maimuna, and her daughter, and who have donated large amounts to the charity. And inshallah, the more you donate, the more, and inshallah, follow it through. Follow it through. In other words, where did my money go? And look at, look at the motivation that, mashallah, I've donated this to this particular cause, and inshallah, Allah will give me this reward as well. So always have that sustaining activity of follow through, follow through, follow through. You perform your salah, at the end of your salah, ask yourself, did I truly connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the end of that salah? Did I ponder upon the verses of the Quran that I was reading? So going back when he said Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the complete power of the Day of Judgment, and he will give us the reckoning, and we will stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he will judge us and everything else. But have faith, complete faith and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he said in the previous word, I'm Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. So even though he's Maliki Yawmiddin, we are saying that on the Day of Judgment, his mercy is going to shine, because this is what he's telling us. I'm all merciful. He's not just merciful, he's all merciful. He's all benevolent. He's all powerful. And the Alif Lam, is in all the verses when you see in the Quran that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about Ar-Rahman, he's Ar-Rahman. He's not just Ar-Rahman, he's Ar-Rahman. He's Ar-Rahim. The Alif Lam is to emphasize the all power. And again, if you study Arabic grammar, you will realize this. And it's so amazing that when you study Arabic language and when you study the Quran and the Hadith, it's the hidden context. It's the submission, and it's the immersion of the Quranic verses and so forth. Okay, so this is really, really important, that connecting the action with something which is powerful, which is extrinsic, and over time, which I'm going to be talking about extrinsic and intrinsic. So extrinsic, then over time, that extrinsic won't matter even in children. Because remember, for example, let's say 5-year-olds. If you say to a 5-year-old, if you pray salah, I'll give you a sweet, or I'll give you something. Then over time, as they grow older, let's say now they're 6, 7, you can't then fob them off with a sweet. It's what I'm not bothered, it doesn't bother me. So now you have to up the ante. So 7, 8-year-olds might want something more expensive. If you've got 9-year-olds who say, right, if you perform all your salah for the next week, I'll buy you a bike. Yeah, or if you, I'll buy you an iPhone or an iPad or something similar to that. So those are goals. And with children have, you can have a point system, which we have in schools. And these are, kind of procedures and policies I put in place in all my schools, and it had massive difference. So going back to the school, so when I joined that particular school, in my first term, I had 547 incidents, and I had a whole list of basic misdemeanors like not bringing stationery to school, to major misdemeanors which are like T6, which is stealing something in school, something like that. So I have a whole list, and every single child, every single student in the school knows about these rules and regulations, because beginning of each term, so which is in September, then January, and so forth, beginning of each term, all the teachers are emphasized during form time and so forth to go through those rules and regulations with you. So that's another piece of advice I'll give you, is you need to have a set of rules, and those set of rules have to be explained to them on a monthly basis or a termly basis, which is really, really important. Okay. Similarly, the leverage, that needs to be explained to them as well. And as you might have different leverages for different age groups. So your 5-year-old will have a different leverage to your 10-year-old, your 15-year-old, and so forth. So remember that as well. And explain that to the children, the leverages are different. The other thing you need to understand is also it's about consequences, really, really important about consequences. And one of my teacher training programs that I do, which is a 5-session webinar program, I go through a behavior management module with you. And I go through something called an ABC of behavior management. Okay, and it's when to intervene in a particular misbehavior. But again, I'm going sidetracked here. The reason I wanted to mention this, that motivation and misbehavior goes hand in hand. If students are motivated, they will not misbehave. And I've seen that. So going back to that school, so I had 547 misdemeanors in my first term. By putting all these policies and procedures in place and all these systems in place, we went from 547 to less than 250. So that's 50% decrease from, and all the major misdemeanors were gone. There was just things like students were forgetting their stationery, they were kind of moving from one chair to another without asking permission, they were kind of talking. So these small misdemeanors, what we call small misdemeanors stuff taking place. So all the things like bullying and everything, because I was very, very strict with that. That got eradicated within 3 months. Alhamdulillah, we never had any. Even my first week, I had nearly 40 safeguarding issues. And I'm talking about major safeguarding issues. Remember, I was working in Islamic school as well, Islamic girls' school. Everything from grooming issues to fighting to bullying to parents even talking to their children in a particular way. So it's about educating yourself. Or do you as a parent, do you as a husband or a wife or a daughter or a grandparent, do you know what safeguarding is? And if you don't, why don't you know what safeguarding is? And it's really important and even Islamically, I'm not just talking about safeguarding from a legal perspective, I'm talking about safeguarding from an Islamic perspective. And like shouting at children, why do you need to shout? The Prophet ﷺ never shouted. And there's a story of Anas radiallahu ta'ala, which I mentioned as well. So are you using the correct language? And if you're not, then that's going to have a massive impact in the way your children behave, or the way your spouse or the way your partner responds. And inshallah, in the marriage course, I'm going to go through that in detail. So knowing your rights is very, very important as well. So moving on. So and then in the third term, we went less than 250. In the third term, we went less than, I think it was 110. And in the fourth term, it was less than that as well. Because every single student in the school knew what the policies were, what the procedures were, what the instructions were, what the rules of the school were. And I can remember one visitor that came, she used to come regularly to the school and visit to help out. And that school had been running for nearly, I think it's several years or a decade or something similar to that. And she said to me, I've never seen your school so clean. So I said, explain, what does that mean? Because when I used to come before, I used to see crisp packets on the floor, I used to see wrappers on the floor, I used to see different kind of, because kids used to never even throw in the bin, they just used to throw it in the bin expecting the cleaner to clean it up. In my schools, the cleaner is as an integral member of staff as a deputy head or even the head teacher, because every single person is part of a team. So even in your house, I've spoken to many of you on a personal level. The mother is, in most cases, and I'm sorry if the brothers are going to feel offended by this, majority of the cases, the females or the mothers take control of the children. But why? Why is it just the responsibility of the mother to get them ready, to feed them, to clothe them, to take them to school, take them to madrasa, take them to activities? Why is it mother's responsibility? Is it not a team effort? Is it not both of you should be working together as a team? And in a school, for example, similar dynamics, a team makes the school. So it's not just about me saying, yeah, these are the rules. My deputy head of departments, even the teachers, even the parents, even the cleaners, even the students, we're all part of a team. And we all need to move forward together and understand the bigger picture, which is, in this particular case, to be truly motivated is to truly seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to truly connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to truly aspire to attain Jannah. Okay, I've just got some copy of you. fathers feel we work full time, hence it's the mother's job. Absolutely, that's the most rubbishest excuse you can give. Okay, I do not agree with that. This is my personal opinion. No. So is the father's just responsibility is go to work and put bread on the table? Is that really their responsibility? The answer is no. Okay, the fathers have as much responsibility for their children as the mothers do as well. Okay, and you can quote me on this as well. You will be held responsible on the day of judgment. If you're, and I've seen this with mothers, because sometimes children don't listen to mothers. And again, sorry mothers, but it's sometimes the language you're using, which is sometimes very aggressive, sometimes very nagging, sometimes very un-Islamic. And I mentioned, the story of Sheikh Imam Sudais, the Imam of Haram. When he used to be young, when he used to be a child, he used to be very mischievous. And look at the subhanallah du'as his mother's made for him, even though he's being mischievous. And she used to say to him that, stop misbehaving, okay, or behave. May Allah make you the Imam of Haram. Meaning that your state now is not a state which you should be in if you want to be the Imam of Haram. And look at the du'as of the mother at any given point, okay, he became the Imam of Haram. Now imagine every time your child is misbehaving, you start saying to him or her, stop misbehaving, or, I won't give you this, or I won't give you that. Instead of saying that, saying, may Allah make you a pious person. May Allah give you barakah in your life. May Allah keep you focused. May Allah keep you focused on His ibadah. Imagine these words are coming out when your children are misbehaving. And because you're in a different state, imagine even one of those du'as are accepted. That will change the entire process of your misbehaving of your children. So it's really important to understand that. Anyway, going back to what Morgan and King said, motivation refers to the state within a person or animal that drives behavior towards same goals. Even look at animals. If you look at cats and dogs and all these animals, even in zoos, they don't just, you have a wild animal like a tiger and lion which has been captured in the wild. You can't just expect that lion and tiger not to be aggressive from day one, because they were wild. They were in wild, in the jungle or whatever. And then it takes time for the zookeeper or the trainer to train them to behave. Like, for example, you might have, people have dogs and cats. So the cats are trained that a particular time the flap is open for them to have exercise. At 9 o'clock, they will know instinctively that 9 o'clock you will shut the door or close the flap. Okay, and there was some research done on this as well, that what they did in, I think it was a factory or something, I can't really remember. What they did was that when it was dinner time, what used to happen, they used to ring the bell, or they used to, the manual bell. They used to put the bell, and people used to automatically feel good because now it's time for lunch. Okay, now they've used that for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. They continue to do that. So every time the bell was sounded, people knew it was break time, lunchtime, and that made them feel good. So what the research showed was that, what if we can use the same theory of using the bell to motivate people to say, right, okay, what we're going to do now is every half an hour or an hour, we're going to give people 2 minutes, 3 minutes breaks, which I mentioned last week in terms of the procrastination module. And we'll just read the bell. So every so often, every half an hour, every hour, they're going to hear this bell. And that bell is, again, in the unconscious mind, the bell represents something good, which is food and a break and everything else. So what they then did was that they used to do this every half an hour to motivate people. And they saw massive improvements in the way people worked and behaved. And even in my tuition center and the people that I mentored and coached, one of the things I always work on is the mindset motivation first. And I gave an example, I think in module 2 or module 3, one of my students who went from being an average in a school to one of the top performing students in the entire school, in the history of the school. I don't go into that today because of the lack of time. It's really important that we understand that motivation will allow you to do work or your action or a set goal or a state by 130%. So yeah, some of you mentioned parents is plural, not singular. It took two to make, so two to parent. Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. But I think we've gone down this path which we have kind of forgotten what the Quranic Sunnah stance is, and I've mentioned that the Imam Ghazali's work, so I don't want to go through that again. So it's really important that we are active in our children's education. Like when I used to run an education myself, I used to take my daughter with me when she was nearly 2.5, 3 years old. And over a period of 2-3 months, so I used to do Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and Saturday, Sundays as well in the morning. So I used to run an education center. And subhanAllah, I didn't have to wake her up on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning. An hour before, I was going to the center, she used to wake up herself, even though I said to her the night before, don't wake up in the morning, rest, you need your rest, I know you want to come, but this week rest. But she just used to get up. She just automatically, and she used to wait for me, subhanAllah, on the staircase. Said, Dad, I want to come with you. And even at the center when she used to come, remember, she's now 3.5 years old. MashaAllah, she had memorized 10 surahs by heart. She can't read or write at this point. She had memorized 10 surahs. She had memorized a dozen du'as. And by the time she was like, nearly 4, I taught her Arabic language. I taught her how to read and write. And she was now teaching the new students that were coming in who were 6, 7, 8 who couldn't teach. Who couldn't read Arabic, who couldn't read the Quran. Now imagine the motivation of that. So again, it's about changing that mindset, changing that way the students behave. And that has to start at a very, very early age. You can't have that, your children don't pray Fajr Salah, Isha Salah, and things like that. And then you expect them at 8, 9, 10 years old, oh, now you have to wake up for Fajr Salah. So now they've got these conflicts in their head. Well, hold on, for 7, 8 years, you told me it's okay not to pray Fajr Salah. Now you're saying to me, I have to pray. So now the conflicts are rising. Similarly, how you need to understand how the school dynamics work. You need to understand how the madrasa dynamics work. And if it's not conducive to your upbringing of your children, you need to get them out of there and put them in an area or a center or something which is similar to your mindset, which is a positive mindset. Okay, so in schools you have one system. In a madrasa you have another system. At home you have a system. Okay, and if their parents are alims and alimas, then you're going to have a completely different system as well. So now children are growing up with 4 systems, and they're confused. Like in my school, the teacher's saying, I have free will. I can speak my mind. I can open up. In the madrasa, it's just rote learning, alif, 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 ba, 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 ta, 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 sa, sa, sa. That's what they're doing for 2 hours. Okay, and in some cases, the children are just literally completely for 2 hours immersed in the Quran, which there's no issue there, but there's no break in between. And if they misbehave, they're standing up. I've seen it in madrasas today. They're standing up, or they told us go outside the classroom or stand in the corner. And so that's a completely different behavioral system. And then at home, there's no leverage, there's no system in place. And then what happens is, again, it's completely confusing. Imagine you're telling a 5-year-old that a set of rules at school is this, a madrasa set of rules is this, and at home you have a set of rules. And all 3, in some cases, are contradictory. So this is why your children are all over the place. They don't understand, and they'll say, well, in school they allow me to do this, or in madrasa they allow me to do this. Why don't you allow me to do this? So this is contradictory. So you need to understand what's happening in your school. And inshallah, one of the things we do at Center of Excellence is we have these training workshops to educate the parents. And even in all my schools, we had workshops to educate parents on the rules of the school. Because they're saying to implement the same rules at home. Same rules should be applied in madrasas. Otherwise, you're going to have conflicts. So it's really important to understand that. Anyway, moving on. So motivation means the classes of operations used to produce and measure changes in performances and changes in energy output. So because you are lacking motivation, you will have 50, 60, 70, 80% less energy to do something. So what can be done in 5 minutes, you will take half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour to do. And that's similarly with children. The lack of motivation, they will sit there and they won't be bothered. In classes, the problem you have in schools today, you have 25, 30 in a class. Even Islamic schools as well, in Leicester, some of the parents I've been speaking to, you have 20, 25 in a class. That is too many. The only way you can deal with children who have 20, 25 in a class if the teacher has, you know, a high level of education. I'm talking about, you know, master's degrees, PhD and so forth, in education, not in engineering or mechanics. Number two, they've got 10, 15 years experience, not in the same school, but worked across the system. Okay, so systemically and systematically, they work from in year 1, year 5, primary, and had dabs in secondary or vice versa. And similarly, they've worked in state schools, private school, independent school, Islamic schools, and so forth. And even some of them have international experience. And if you don't those, they have a one-track mind in that particular demographic, particular location. So I've been across the entire country and I've seen schools which are massively different the way they run in London to completely in Blackburn, in Manchester, and in Leicester. Completely different. So we need to understand procedures and processes. Okay, and I've got many courses. If anyone, it's not just for teachers, it's for parents as well. If you want to change rapidly the way you think and the way you want you to raise your children and to teach them the life skills, come onto those courses. It's really important that you do that. So the Underwood mentions motivation means the class of operations used to produce and measure changes in performance and changes in energy output. Guilford mentions motivation refers to all internal conditions that stir up activity and sustain activity of an individual. Again, so it's about mindset change, it's about movement, it's about going from one state to another. This is really, really important to understand. I'm just going to go through some of your queries and questions. I feel I struggle to get my son to work and ends in fights. How do I motivate him without fight or argument? Please provide more information about the courses. Yeah, I'll provide more towards. If you go onto my website, www.academicamentoring.com, there's CPD courses and things like that as well. If you want, give me a call and I will go through, I'll give you a free consultation on the courses as well, inshallah. Nafisa, to answer your question is because there's two or maybe three main reasons. There's plenty more, but I mean, having assessed nearly 10,000 students and worked with 1,000 staff, it usually boils down to 2 or 3 things. The first one is the work you are giving is not stimulating enough. In other words, the work is boring. Okay, it's either too difficult or too easy. So if your child is underachieving or under underachievement spectrum and you're giving work which is too difficult and you're not scaffolding, they will get bored. They won't be able to do that work because it's boring. Okay, in order to overcome that, for the first couple of days or weeks, do things which are really easy or motivational, like something they want to do. So ask them, okay, what do you want to do? And allow your lessons and allow your teaching at home to be centered around the theme which is they understand and which motivates them. The second thing is your child might be gifted. And I've seen this in many, many students that, mashallah, some of the children that I've worked with are gifted. I mean, truly gifted. And the work that is given normally should take an hour, they finish in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So what they're doing now is for the next 40 minutes, 50 minutes, they're sitting there, bored stiff. And eventually, imagine you've got 6 lessons in a day. And out of each lesson, on average, 40 minutes is wasted because they're bored. 40 times 6. Yeah? So that's 6, 12, 18, 24. That's 240 minutes per day of complete boredom. That's going to drive anyone insane. So what they start doing is they now need to start looking at other ways for entertainment. So they start bugging others. They start shouting. They start shouting at the answer. They start cheating. And they'll do the homework in 5 minutes. So you need to have a different set of work for these. And now other schools as well. And I've seen this in many, many schools where it's not layered or structured. It has to be different levels. And you need to understand what the baseline level is for your child. If you're not aware of these things and you're just giving what the school is expecting you to teach them, then you're going to be struggling with your children. And you're going to have fights, like Nafis has mentioned. You're going to have arguments, like Nafis has mentioned, because either the work is too difficult or the work's too easy, or it's not motivational enough. But the motivation comes through processes and mindset change over a period of time, inshallah. Okay, I'm moving on to the next one. So you have different theories of motivation. You have the nature of motivation is important as well. So based on motive, so you're asking your child or you asking yourself, I am doing this particular thing. So for example, it could be things like you hate hoovering. Okay, simple, very, very simple action. And you find it as a chore. And the reason you find it as a chore is because you haven't attached that action to something which is important. So for example, if you are hoovering and you hate hoovering and you say, right, I'm going to hoover, in your mindset shift change, you're thinking, this is part of tahara, this is part of my iman, at-tahuru shatrul iman, as the hadith mentions, and if I clean this house, Allah's going to reward me for tahara and inshallah give me Jannah. Look at the incentive and the motivation. Okay, so instead of just cleaning one room a day, you might end up cleaning the whole house, which I don't advise, but I'm saying you do it in small doses. So again, motives are very important. How are you affected by motivation? In other words, some people, for example, in Ramadan, because it's Ramadan and they have this notion that shaitan's locked away and etc., not understanding their own nafs and understanding their whole concept of that, they do 10 times more ibadah. And how is that possible that in Ramadan they can, and out of Ramadan they can't? It's because there's no consistency there. They've really kind of changed their mindsets and ramp their kind of whole energy levels. Imagine the fasting and tarawih and everything else, and you have alternative sleep patterns and suhoor and everything else. So, but how can they do more? It's because that is not their natural state. So small stimulus they can do that, but in the long run they can't. So what you need to do is change that small stimulus into a consistent stimulus, which means that throughout the day, throughout the year. So even before Ramadan, 1 month before, start fasting alternative days. Start praying more Quran. So when you get into Ramadan, it's a natural state. You just smoothly, you've literally gone from the pre-Ramadan state to Ramadan state, and your ibadah is more not like a chore. The ibadah is, yeah, I'm enjoying my tarawih. Yeah, I'm really enjoying reading the Quran, because it's a natural state. And you'll see that you can do even more ibadah in Ramadan. Okay, the third thing is goal-directed behavior. Again, with children as well, you have the intrinsic and extrinsic, which is mentioned on the right-hand side of this slide. Intrinsic means it's internally, that you have the motivation, you want to do this for the sake of doing this. So for example, a child will learn, not because they're going to receive a prize or some reward. They do this because they want to achieve something. They want to get amazing results, or they want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or they want to please their parents, or they want to get A stars or A grades or B grades or C grades or 98765 in their GCSEs, or they want to go on to college or university and get an amazing job. So that's all intrinsically done. Okay, it can be extrinsic to a certain extent, but a goal-directed behavior is, for example, say to the children, if you do this, and again, I talked about the rules and I talked about leverage. Okay, so your leverage is your extrinsic motivation. So each one, the bigger the task, the higher the extrinsic motivation, the higher the prize. And over time, inshallah, summa inshallah, they will go from extrinsic to intrinsic. They will learn because they want to learn. They will behave because they want to behave, because they want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not because you're telling them. They wake up for Fajr Salah because they want to, not because you're telling them to. Okay, and that is the state, but that is a changed state that you need to get to, and that takes time. And also related to satisfaction. So when they are, when we perform our Salah, when we come into our webinars, when we come in to listen to bayans and everything else, we should have this, after the Salah, the performed action, we should have this level of satisfaction that, okay, that was amazing. I felt so good today. I read that Quran today. I read that translation today. I felt really good today. I woke up for, Sahri. I woke up for Tahajjud. I prayed my Fajr Salah. I read my Quran. I feel good today. Inshallah, today is going to be an amazing day. Yeah, and have that mindset. Say to yourself that direct instructions. Remember, you're the captain of the ship. Say to yourself, everything's possible with the will of Allah. Everything's possible with the will of Allah. Okay, and repeat that daily, positive actions, positive instructions to your mind, and say, I can do this. Never ever, I've always been a rebel, okay, myself. If somebody says to me, you can't do this, I'm going to go on, no matter how long it takes, no matter what resources, I'm going to go and do it. So when the bigger the challenge, the more I'm motivated to achieve that. because it's a fulfillment and it's the sense of achievement. Okay, the person is motivated in totality. The totality is when you perform that salah and you feel euphoric. You feel as if like you're in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you're there amazing. Imagine you're performing salah and there's 100 people in a circle looking at you, looking at your every action in your salah. Are you going to be laxy-daisy in your salah? Absolutely not. You're going to be performing that salah in its complete, you know, doing your ruku properly, your sajdood properly, and everything. Yeah, and you're inshallah, you're going to be completely focused in salah. You're not going to make any mistakes in your salah. Or did I pray 2 rakats or did I pray 3 rakats? Did I pray surah or did I not pray surah? And again, if you're making mistakes and you're forgetting in your salah, that's to do with your iman. That's to do with your connectivity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So again, that's really, really important as well. And in motivation, you have complex processes. I don't want to go through like Maslow's hierarchy and the XY theory. I'll do that another time, inshallah. But again, you have to understand the different theories of motivation and see which one applies to you. And today I'm going to be talking about Islamic model of motivation. Okay. Anyone got any questions? Let's read out some of the. When my son comes to maths, happily do it, but when it comes to literacy, he says too boring and totally refuses. Yeah, that's because in his mind, he has got a stumbling block. And his stumbling block is saying maths is easy and literacy is hard because it's a mental block. And again, it's about using, you can use mathematics to teach him literacy as well. So there's a way of doing that. Okay. Anyone got any questions? If you've got any questions, unmute your mic, inshallah. I will try and answer your questions. Anyone got any questions? Any questions? No, everyone's quiet. Okay. So kinds of motivation, a few polarities of motivation that you'll find in theories that serve to create clarity on one's own motivation. As with all polarities, it's not about either or, but about the position one has in a certain spectrum. Okay, so each motivation, each goal, each state is different, and you have to understand which is the best one for you. So these are the different kind of states that you have. So positive versus negative. Motivating forces can be positive, as in impelling one to reach a certain goal. They can also be negative, as in driving one away from an unwanted situation. You can be positively motivated by going to work because you like your colleagues and some part of the work, and negatively motivated because you have to pay bills, moving away from the poverty, and you wouldn't dare not show up. So again, in your work as well, if you are going to work every day in the morning, you find it laborious to wake up, you find it difficult to wake up, you've got a really, horrible boss, the work is a chore, you hate your job. My question to you is, why are you there? If you're saying, well, I've got to pay the bills, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, then I'm going to say to you, right, go on to a course, which my colleague, Brother Martin does, which is Live Like a Billionaire course, which will complete your mindset. And set up your own business, get a job which has your passion, your drive, your commitment. What I'm doing now, alhamdulillah, I mean, I'm very motivated anyway in all the previous works that I've taken on. But it's about your values and your understanding your values. And if you don't know who you are and your own identity, you're going to be struggling in your workplace. And when I do the CV workshop, anyone wants to do a CV workshop, CV writing, interview techniques workshop that I do, one of the things we look at is, who are you as a person? I've seen, I must have read thousands of CVs, and I can tell by a CV what kind of a person you are. And majority of people that write CVs saying, yeah, I'm enthusiastic, I'm motivated, I'm this and that. So what you're doing is you're telling me a bunch of lies. Because when I interview you and I don't see that in the interview, I won't hire you. Because if you're going to lie to me in your CV and that's not your true character is going to come out once you work. So if you're saying, yeah, I'm willing to work, evenings and weekends, I'm willing to do all the planning, I'm willing to do this, I know what safeguarding is, and when I question you, you don't know. So what you've done in your CV is you've lied to me, and I can't work with people who've lied to me. Yeah, some people do slip through the net, I'm not saying you don't, but they get caught out very, very quickly, because the challenge I give them is for them to become the best that they can be. And if they can't step up, they can't work in the environment that I work in. So it's important to understand that. So your positive mind, positive energy, your positive mindset is important. If you're working in a particular field you don't enjoy, move, do something that's going to energize you. Because if you're working for 40 hours a week with negative energy, you're going to come home, and this is what some of the male members do, parents do. They're so de-energized, demotivated at work, they come home and they don't want to interact with their wives. They don't want to interact with their parents. They have no time for their children because their work has sucked the energy out of them. Okay, when I used to work as a as a teacher. I used to come back. I used to run an education center. I was doing the Hajj and Umrah as well. I used to give consultations. I used to spend nearly 20 hours a week with my daughter alone. That's excluding family time. I used to sit with her, take her to the park and everything else as well, because it's energy. It's that energy Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you, and it's that positive mindset. Okay, some of you made comments again. When it comes to advice single mom, when losing motivation to maintain HSC and also deal with reluctance to learn and siblings rivalry, failing to get 10-year-old to understand that 5-year-old sister is still young and doesn't understand, other children get confused at him. They're restricted from watching some things or listening to music, but once they go to their dad, they're allowed. Again, so you have to have synchronization. The parents have to be in sync. Why don't you do mashwara before you sit down with your husband, your children, and actually make the rules together and make their leverage together. Okay, when both husband and wife, the mother and the father, are on different polarities and different rules apply, the children will exploit that, and they will get these confused mixed messages. So you either go with one or the other. You can't, but you have to be fully engaged with that. Okay, it's important for you to understand that. Yeah, must be on the same page. Yeah. So again, positive and negative. So if you're in a particular position, that's going to have a massive, profound effect on the way you behave at home. I see so many people that I meet on a daily basis, and the language they use is very negative. Oh, I can't do this. Why? Why can't you do this? Because I don't have the qualifications. So go and get the qualifications. But I can't get the qualifications. Why? Because I don't have the money. Then earn the money. Save up £5, £10, and have a goal like 2 years, you're going to earn this money, and then you're going to do this course. Okay, never ever give up on anything. Somebody says to you, you can't do this, walk away from them. You don't want to be next to that toxic person. And when you ooze energy, it will have a profound effect on everyone around you. So in my schools, even though I'm just one person, one of the things I do is mindset shift change with my staff. And again, leverage. I'll give an example of one of my schools in Saudi Arabia. I had nearly 150 staff working under me, nearly 1,000 students. And one of the things which every staff member was afraid of was the point of every time they made a mistake, okay, so again, toxic environment, every time they made a mistake, their salaries would get cut. So it could be 1 week, 2 weeks. Now imagine if you're a staff from India, Pakistan, Egypt, Somalia, Morocco or something, your salaries was between £500 to £600. Okay, your rent on average is about £350. So if you've got your 1 month's wage deducted, how are you going to pay rent for that particular month? So therefore, according to Maslow's hierarchy, your basic needs are not being met. You haven't even got a roof over your head. So now you're in pressure. You're going to then do tuition, you're going to then do this and that and try to earn extra money. Okay, and I'll give you an example of one member of staff, which I remember always. So that member of staff was not teaching the children and not giving due diligence and give 100% in his teaching during school time. So I noticed this for a couple of months, and I pulled him up. I called him into my office and I said, look, what you're doing is wrong. And what he was doing is then speaking to the children and parents that you need extra tuition. And then he was giving them extra tuition after school and earning, thousands of pounds in tuitions. So I said to brother, look, first and foremost, you're not giving 100% in your thingy. So the barakah of your earning money in the school time is going to vanish. He goes, no, you don't know what you're talking about. I said, okay, brother, no problem, inshallah. Okay, I'm giving you advice from what I know, from what's happened. I've spoken to many people regarding this matter. So he wasn't giving 100% due diligence. He didn't want to be in that school. He just wanted to make tuition, but he was only in the school because he was a foreigner and he needed the visa to be there. Okay, so again, he wasn't giving due diligence on the hack of the job. So again, negative mindset in the school whereas he was teaching. Very, always complaining and everything else as well. Anyway, 3, 4, 5, 6 months went past. And he came up to my office and he says, oh, I need permission to leave Saudi Arabia at the time. I need emergency to leave to go to the UK. So I said, what's happening? He goes, it's an emergency. I've spoken to the director's authorized it. I said, that's fine. As the director's authorized it, that's absolutely fine. And I said, is there something I can help you with? He said, no. I said, okay, no problem. Anyway, so, he went on to the same day or the next day, he took the plane, went home. And then I got wind later on that what happened was one day, his son, who had no criminal background, no behavioral issues, nothing, one day had an argument, altercation with his sister. He got a knife and he stabbed her. Mother tried to intervene and he stabbed his mother as well. Okay, I'm not saying they're related, by the way. Okay, I'm not saying that. But I said to them, the money you are earning, you never give haqq and due diligence, and you are falsely misrepresenting the students and the parents to say you need extra tuition, so you're accumulating all this money. The point I'm trying to make here is that the police came, they arrested him, he got he got eventually convicted for manslaughter and everything else, and he got sentenced, I don't know how many years, and he got, he wasn't allowed anywhere near the family and so forth. In order just to fight the case, it cost the father in excess of nearly 150 to 250,000 pounds. And I spoke to a couple of friends who were close to us, and I said, look, all that money he's earned over the last 5, 6 years has gone in one swoop. Why? Because there was no barakah in there. The money was not earned lawfully. It's earned under false pretense. Because he wasn't motivated enough to work with 100%. And I said, even if he just worked with 100% passion in his school, the barakah of the money earned would have taken him to a whole new level. And I said to him, look, I've taken 2/3 pay cut to come to this school. I can earn 3 times, 4 times, 5 times more if I went somewhere else. And I give 150% to every profession that. But the amount of connections, the network, and the barakah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me has been phenomenal. And now even some of my ex-staff that I've known over the last 20 years, I can pick up a phone and say, brother, I need this help, would you be, and they will be jump at the chance. I even now at the Center of Excellence, I pick up speak to one of my colleagues and say, look, have you got this resource, that resource, and they will send it to me straight away. Now, had I been negative, had I been, demotivated to my staff and so forth, they wouldn't even pick up the phone, they would block me. I'm not saying all staff like that, you have certain staff who are negative mindset anyway, but the point I'm trying to make is, that motivating factor is really, really important. Building that resilience and that positivity is really important. The next step is, and again, so I was talking about the school as well. So what I did was the first week I went there, found this out, I said, okay, number one, no matter what mistake you made, your salaries won't be deducted. Everyone just stood up. Everyone's eyes just opened up. Like, what is he talking about? This is going against the grain of the school and the ethos of the school. I said, yeah, we need to change the toxicity of the mindset and the energy in the school to make it more positive. And mashallah, my staff gave 130%. Most of them, nearly all of them gave 130% just on that one change of rule, because their basic needs have been met. So I'm asking you, are your children's basic needs being met? Is there enough energy in your house? Whether you're a single parent or not, is there enough energy in your house? Are you performing salah on time and everything else as well? And you're getting your children to perform salah, not because they're forced to, it's because they want to. And change that state to a positive state. So the action has to be connected to something positive. Again, internal, external, there's an internal motivation or push. It's an internal state that impels one to act towards achieving a certain goal. Yeah. Why did the Sahabas, look at the difference between us and the Ashab Kiram. Why did the Sahabas could stand the entire night in tahajjud and we can't do 5, 10, 15 minutes and we get tired? Because their internal motivation was on a whole new level. They could actually see, like the hadith says, when they were in front of the Prophet ﷺ, they can actually almost feel and visualize heaven and hell. And part of mindset is there's 5 things that you need to look at. So you need to look at the visualization of the action. So in other words, when you perform salah, before you perform salah, visualize that amazing feeling you're going to get, and visualize it and saying, right, I'm doing ruku, I'm talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, visualize it. Then audio, so when you're reading the Quran, you should know the translation and see how does, what the words say. Look at the beauty and the majesty of the words. Thirdly is when you perform in the actions, you're going to ruku and sujood, how do you feel? Why just say subhanallah, 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 rabbiyal a'la, subhanallah, rabbiyal a'la, subhanallah, rabbiyal a'la. Stay as long as you want. You're in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're in your sujood and talk to him. Okay. Similarly, when you need to, do you smell the fragrance of Jannah in your salah? Do you smell Jannah? Do you smell the luscious gardens and the honey and the milk and the wine and everything else? Obviously, wine's halal in Jannah. Okay, so do you smell this? And can you taste the fragrance? Can you taste the luxuries of Jannah? This is what the Sahabas felt when they were performing their salah, when they were doing good deeds, when they were, helping, to build the Masjid al-Nabawi or the Kaaba and so forth. They felt all their senses were truly connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And therefore their heart and their mind and their soul was just immersed in the love of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so it's when an external goal influences one's behavior. One external goal influences one's behavior towards them. Behavior is a complex blend of internal pushes and external pulls. You can be internally motivated to go to work because it makes you feel useful and creative. But at the same time, it is expected of you by your surroundings, and you may be doing something that only partially fulfills your desires. So if you're at work and they're telling you to do mundane tasks, I'll give you an example. I had a teaching assistant who came onto one of my teacher training courses. And, she says all the teacher makes her do is, sharpens pencil, puts rubbers away, put chairs away. I said, okay, what's your title? She goes, teaching assistant. What does that mean? That means you assist in the teaching. But you're not, you're a doormat, sorry to say. Your responsibility is not to sharpen the pencils and put the rubbers away and the rulers away and put the chairs away and photocopying and everything. Your job is to do the assistant. Do you know your job description? Yes, no. Okay. She goes, no, right, okay. Go and look at what a teaching assistant's job description is. She then went and looked at that and I said, you need to go back on Monday and say to your teacher, this is my job description, this is what I want to do. And mashallah, she rang me that same evening after having that same conversation with the teacher, and she goes, you know what, everything's changed. I'm working with SEN students. I've got 4 students I'm working with. The teacher's giving me resources and materials, everything to work with these students. You know what, I absolutely love my job. Just one conversation I had with her. Okay, so now her needs and her motivation and her desires, everything was being met. So she wanted now, she was feeling, she wanted to go to school. I had a teacher she was originally from Romania. She came onto my 5-session webinar program, and mashallah, she found it so overwhelming and it changed the way she did things. She came onto my full coaching program as well. And she was teaching for 22 years, I think 22 years. She's had a master's degree in English language and literature, and she was in that school, and they took advantage of her. They never gave her promotions. She was just there on a daily basis to give her one task after, which was not even her responsibilities. And they were just giving her all these tasks to do. She came into my workshop, and within 6 sessions, because it's a 5-session webinar, but it's 6 sessions. Session of 1 is broken down into 2. It completely changed her mindset. She went into school knowing all the tricks of so how to effectively plan, how to manage the kids. So now she knew exactly how to deal with the children. And she said, even the children are saying that, Miss, you've changed. What's happening? We love your lessons. And when the head teacher came to observe her, it was so inspiring that the head teacher asked her now to train other members of staff on how she's dealing with the classroom. And you see, she was just being the best that she can be. And the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring attraction to other people through observations, through the students, and they're going to go home motivated. They're going to say to their parents, oh, we have an amazing lesson, we did this and we did that. She was always doing her lessons indoors. She was now starting to do lessons in outdoors, in the garden, eco-friendly project, in the sports hall, in the gymnasium, completely transforming the way she was teaching. And therefore the behavior, like I mentioned to Nafisa, even those students, she laid the lessons, so those who are motivated, the task was slightly difficult. So they weren't just finishing. Even if they finished that, she had another plan back, a plan B, plan C, plan D, and they had breaks in middle. And certain lessons, they had golden time. So one lesson at the end of the week, they could do anything they want. They could bring in games, they could do PE, they could do go on the internet, bring in their PlayStations, they could play, tablets, they could do whatever they want, as long as within the school remits and the policies. Complete transformation in that class. So it's about learning the pedagogy and the methodology and everything else as well. And what this course is trying, this motivational webinar is trying to do is I'm going to go through every single thing with you, inshallah. I'm not going to finish it today, but I'm over a period of, inshallah, 2-3 weeks. So basic versus learned. Motivation leans on motives. Motives are often categorized into basic motives and learned motives. So again, do you know the methodology and the pedagogy? If not, go and learn them. Okay, basic or primary motives are unlearned and common to both animals and humans. We're talking about hunger, thirst, sex, avoidance of pain, and perhaps aggression and fear. Children don't just become misbehaving. They've learned these characters either from you as a parent, or school, or their friends, or their peers, or their siblings. They learn it from somewhere. And we have to earn this. Just as they've learned these misbehaviors, you can get them to unlearn it as well. Very, very easy to do. And it's not difficult. The learned or secondary motives include achievement, power, recognition, love. You'll go to work to get food and avoid social exclusion. You'll also go to work to achieve something and possibly others around you. I had one of my close friends, and when he was at work, he was demotivated. So I said, look, you're not getting professional development. He goes, oh, I don't think they do it. So before he's even actually asked his line manager, he's negated the point that, oh, but we don't do it at work. I said, okay, what I'd like you to do is go to work Monday, this was on a weekend, and ask your manager. The worst thing he's going to say, no, we don't have the funding for it, we can't do this. Okay? Now, he's been working in that company for nearly 2 years, 2.5 years, 3 years. Goes to work on Monday, goes to see his boss, line manager, and says, oh, by the way, I'd like to be upskilled, I'd like to do further training. Is there any funding available, or is there any training available? Because yeah, absolutely. Because everyone's allocated a certain amount of money for training. And he was shocked that the company had that. So he rang me the same day. He goes, yeah, I've been allocated X amount of money to upskill onto the new level. So if you don't ask, you're not going to know. So again, it's important that we understand the motives of why we're doing certain things. Are we teaching our children, or are we communicating with our partners, our spouses, our husbands, and saying, excuse, I'd like you to do this, please. Okay, they're going to say no once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. Be persistent on it. Calm, collective. I'd like your help, please. I'd like you to just do this, please. Just sit with our son Abdullah or daughter Fatima, and just sit with them, even though you have no idea of what trigonometry is, or you have no idea of how to calculate area or space, or have no idea of how to do this homework. Sit with them and say, oh, so would this work? Yeah, look, I don't understand this. Could you explain to me how it works? And you will see the motivation of the child. Oh, yeah. And if they don't know, they'll go and find out. Because then, okay, right, you know what? I think we're both struggling on this. Let's do this. You go and research as well. I go and research as well. And let's see who can teach the other one first. And children will have that creative mindset and motivation. They will go and find out, research, and they will, oh, yeah. And you say, oh, then, sometimes I make mistakes as a head deliberately. And what I do is I want children to then get involved and engage with me to say, no, head teacher has done it this way. I said, all right, oh, wow, thank you. And I learned, I tell you something, 60-70% of my time as a head, I learn from the students. They teach me more than I can teach them. because every school is demographics different, mindsets different, you know, the creativity is different, you know, the behavior is different, the social aspect of their life is different. So you learn so much. I learned so much when I was in London in comparison to schools in Blackburn, because that's where I'm originally from. So it makes a huge difference. Some of you just reading the messages must be on the same page. Father is not practicing. It doesn't matter. If he's not practicing, it's not down to you to make him practicing. That's up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you have to be the best that you can be. Okay? Would you even say regarding house homework, give 100%? Absolutely. Everything you do in life, give 100%. When you cook, put Quran on there, have a smile on your face. The barakah in your food will be astronomical. Yeah, your children, your siblings will say, that's amazing food. That tastes, even though it might not taste that, but again, it's not up to you. The taste was from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, if you're telling them to clean, make sure full energy you're cleaning. Everything you do, like my colleague, Brother Moin always says, is how you do one thing is how you do everything. If you cook for the sake of cooking and it's a chore, you do everything like that. If you do household chores and children do household chores, get them to do, like I said, the mindset change, and you will see that motivation will stop building. Inshallah, yeah. So Rohini is asking, some is talk recording. Yes, if you've registered and subscribed, get these, it's all on the website. Okay. I feel constantly doing this. I feel homework environment feels quite work like telling kids constantly to do this and rather than them to do it willingly. Yeah, but that's because the mindset shift is not there. You're telling them to do and it's a chore. It's not connected to a positive extrinsic motivation. And hence why to them it's a chore. Okay. That's a challenge because sometimes we feel the jobs we do as mothers don't feel sorry. Yeah, but you've got the mothers is the best job in the world. I'm a mother and a father to my daughter. Yeah, I'm a son and a daughter to my parents. Every time my parents have a problem, whether it's just paying a bill or something, they'll ring me. And I said, yeah, no problem. Even though my sisters could do it, even though my brother could do it. But I say, yeah, absolutely. I'll smile on my face. Yeah, let's get it done. When you want to get it done? So we book a time, date, get it done. So that motivation has to always be there. But you have to have that positive energy all the time. Yeah, I agree with you. You know, you feel it's a chore because your mindset is you're not loving what you're doing. Like I said, clean the house. Think of it as tahara, at-tahuru shatrul iman. Yeah, cleaning is part of your iman. Imagine you're doing this to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Motivation is going to go through the roof. You're teaching your kids not because you're forced to teach the kids, because you want to teach the kids. And then inshallah, that will be absolutely amazing. Rohina, you should receive an email. If you haven't registered, please do register. And you should be able to, if not, send me an email or send me a message. And inshallah, I will put you onto the group and I'll send you the email also how to register. You'll get all the recordings. They're also on the website as well, academicamentoring.com. The next thing, inshallah, I'm going to try and get through the next slide is Islamic motivation. And I'm going to, inshallah, just go through this page and stop and then continue this next week. So Islamic motivation and theory model, which is quite interesting, which I've looked at a lot of research on this, and I thought, is there a Islamic motivation theory model? You have Maslow's hierarchy, you have Hissberg, and you have all these different theories. And I thought, is there something available similar to this? Alhamdulillah, I managed to find one. So it's based on a paper, a review, which is called A Motivational Islamic Perspective, written by 3 people, Khair, Hamid, and Ahmed. Since motivation is a complex notion related to human beings, Muslim researchers also conduct their research by using the existence model to understand human behavior. However, according to Elias and Samsuddin, 2005, all of the models only make a bit endeavor to assimilate Western theories of motivation in the Islamic models. So all the Western theoretical perspectives have 2 flaws missing in them. And this is why, for a Muslim, it's very difficult for them to adopt those theories. So in fact, most of the substantial motivational research focus more on Western perspectives, which is less in giving a full picture of human motivation in Islamic context. In the Islamic perspective, everything to be achieved must be to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those series do not have that pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala element to it. So that's the first one. And what to be told to and abandon the prohibited. So you don't have that element on it. In the past 30 years, several models of Islamic motivation were proposed by Muslim philosophers and psychologists around the world. But two things were missing. One is taqwa, such as the taqwa model, which is connecting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and khawf or raja. And I'll talk more about that, inshallah, in the next week, inshallah. But the total motivation model, Islamic model motivation and divine motivation. And again, because that is missing, this is why we struggle as Muslims to be Islamically motivated. And I'm going to be going through that in detail. Okay, so I'm going to pause it there and ask for any of your questions, inshallah. And I'm going to be talking about two things before we break, inshallah, on that. So anyone got any questions? Just unmute your mic if you need to. Just going to send in the chat section. You can do this as well. Yeah, just a reminder of everyone that's attended this webinar today. Inshallah, if you want the free gifts, inshallah, type your email address into the chat section and I will send you a gift for this week, inshallah. I've got some really great videos I need to send you as well. So inshallah, I'll be sending you those videos as well by the end of this week. So just put your email address into the chat section and I will send you those gifts as well, inshallah. If you've got any other questions, please do let me know. Inshallah, I'll try and answer those. Anyway, so inshallah, I'll continue this next week. What I would like to also move on to is just talk about Radiant Institute, inshallah, alhamdulillah. We do collect zakah, sadaqah lillah, waqf as well. We spread it amongst several areas as well. Some of the, inshallah, next week I'll be putting up all the pictures of all the food bank donations that we've done. We, alhamdulillah, there was homeless people in Loughborough. We've now managed to help those and support those as well. Some of them are Muslims, some non-Muslims as well. The gratitude showed by these people is amazing, inshallah. And we're working with Leicester Help the Homeless, also Brother Arif, inshallah, to support their cause as well. And again, Allah mentioned in the Quran, Allah will deprive usury of all blessing, but will give increase for deeds of charity. And again, if you're not getting barakah in your money, ask yourself, are you giving 100% in that particular job? Or are you cutting corners? If you're cutting corners, give the money back the amount of hours or minutes you've cut corners, because that's going to be devoid of barakah. The Prophet also mentions charity sadaqah extinguishes sin, just as water extinguishes fire. And if you have two boxes, one for donating every day in the morning. If your kids are not donating, make sure you get everyone together, give it to the elder husband, gives it to the wife, gives it to the eldest kid, and so forth, every day in the morning, and the youngest one puts in a box. This is your sadaqah lillah box. One separate box for lillah, sadaqah, separate box for sadaqah. We do take sadaqah, lillah, zakat, waqf, and things like that as well. And you can donate at the end of the week or end of the month. You can just take that whole money out, put it into another box, and then forward that to our charity, inshallah. I'm going to mute someone. And again, when a man passes away, his worldly acts come to an end, but 3 acts, recurring charity. So you need to get your legacy. You need to get your legacy. So Radiant Institute, we're creating a legacy. Inshallah, I'm doing this for you, for the sake, and this is my legacy. If you change, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward me for that. Knowledge by which others benefit, or a pious son. So you're, inshallah, hopefully benefiting from these webinar sessions on all the courses that I'm delivering. And inshallah, all the students that will learn through your donations and everything else. Imagine in 5 years' time, we've got 400, 500 students producing alimas and hufaz and so forth. You know, we're supporting, inshallah, charity one of the biggest Darul Ulooms in Bangladesh as well, supporting them for the Hifz Alamiya program. So everything you donate will go towards that as well. So again, imagine the reward you're going to get. And a pious son who will praise for him will bear continuous reward. So if you educate your children and they make dua for you and they pray for you, that's your legacy behind. And again, it's really important that you understand by raising, you know, pious kids. That is your main objective and purpose. Everything else is a byproduct. Getting good grades and universities, and that's all byproduct. If you get them to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will provide. Why are you worrying regarding that as well? Just looking at the chat section again. My number is, I'll just type it into the chat section so you can copy and paste it onto your, or just take a screenshot of it. It's 07725 974 831. Okay, so you can WhatsApp me. If you want to be put onto the broadcast list, just WhatsApp me, and inshallah I will add you to the broadcast list, so you'll get all reminders and everything that we're doing as well, inshallah. The next slide is just looking at, if you want to donate, you can do through the Rating Institute PayPal. So paypal.me, Rating Institute, or you can do direct bank transfer. If you want to take a screenshot of this, take a screenshot of this, and then inshallah donate as much as you can. If you have any issues, send me an email, send me a text. I will send you the link, and you can directly forward, give as much as you can. MashaAllah, one sister in our group who had donated 1900. Another sister gave 500. Another sister gave £1,000. Another sister gave 900. MashaAllah, you know, from your kind donations, inshallah, we are going to be launching an amazing center of excellence in Leicester here as well. And we're hoping to open, you know, similar centers in London, in Manchester. I've already spoken to a brother in Manchester. We've already spoken to a brother in London as well. So we're going to be opening, and all these donations are going to go to kind of really promote some of the free courses and activities and everything that we're trying to achieve as well. The next slide is just talking about what we do. We've been running since 2006. We've delivered, you know, raised thousands and thousands of pounds and distributed to many people as well. We're supporting people not just in Leicester but all over the country, internationally, abroad as well. We're helping to alleviate poverty, homelessness, and inshallah, our Centre of Excellence will provide to cater for everyone, not just Muslims, non-Muslims as well, and that's part of our legacy and part of our dawah. And again, it's about being positive. Being positive, people will automatically be attracted. You be the best that you can be, and you will see that people will be attracted to you like magnet. Okay, so inshallah, make the intention that you want to, you know, become the best that you can for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We've donated 150 food packs have already been donating. We've got further funding, subhanallah, and we'll be creating more food packs as soon as the lockdown's over in Leicester. We've donated 100 education packs. And again, if you're in Leicestershire, you need a educational pack or a food pack, let us know. If you know someone that needs that, message me. I'll send you a link and just fill in their details, and we will deliver. They won't even know you've done that, and that will be your sadaqah jariyah as well. Okay. We're trying to raise £300,000, inshallah. We've raised so much already. If you want to, you know, become part of the legacy of what we're trying to achieve, we need 300 people to donate £1,000. You don't have to donate that in one single lump sum. You can do that over a period of 10 months, £100 each, or get a whole family together. You know, a lot of people gather together to donate. Send you zakah, sadaqah lillah. You know, that could just be £1,000, inshallah. And that will go through orphans, widows, students, scholarships. Third of our students that's going to come to our Centre of Excellence, we want to give them the free education. These are students who are gifted, one single parent families, widows, and so forth as well, inshallah. So again, if you want to get in contact with us, please do so. Some of you, one of you's raised your hands. Yes, unmute your mic, you can ask a question, inshallah. Country code is +44. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Okay. The next slide is going to be, I always ask this, inshallah, but today I decided to put it on a slide as well. Testimonial feedback. Please, please, please. I'd be really appreciative that if you could send a testimonial. You can type in the chat section. You can do it now. I'll leave this on for the next minute to 2 minutes whilst I just discuss the marriage and make the dua, a marriage course. I made the dua as well. So if you could leave a testimonial, I would really appreciate it. And may Allah reward you abundantly for just leaving a testimonial feedback. Encourage my staff, the researchers, and everyone that's involved at Rating Institute as well, and gives them that incentive. And again, we're talking about motivation. It motivates people. You feel good when, you know, your work is acknowledged. I'm not saying I won't need validation, inshallah, but again, I'd be really appreciative if you could provide that feedback.